Hello, everyone. I hope you are doing great. Another Sunday with you. So let me turn on the light to make it even better. Very good. Okay, so what's up? For those of you who are new to my live sessions, my name is Al Parsai. I'm a regulated Canadian immigration consultant. I have been practicing for the past 10 years. I am located in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Toronto is the largest city and the capital of the province of Ontario in Canada, and it's the largest city in Canada. It's actually the fourth largest city in North America. The only cities larger than Toronto in terms of population are New York, Los Angeles, and Mexico City in North America. I'm the author of this book, 88 Tips on Immigration to Canada. It has been identified numerous times as the bestseller book under the immigration law by Amazon.ca. If you are willing to purchase this book, you can visit Amazon.ca to purchase the book or visit 88tips.ca. And this book briefly explains in 300 pages, it explains different aspects of visa and immigration to Canada. I have represented thousands of people in terms of their immigration needs, visas, you name it, study permit, work permit, inadmissibility to Canada, immigration hearings to Immigration Refugee Board of Canada, Special Immigration Appeal Division hearings in the past 10 years. And here I am to talk about the news and also a little bit about different aspects of immigration to Canada. And if you have questions, generic questions, I will happily answer them. For those of you who are new, we actually run these sessions every Sunday at 10 a.m. EST. That is Toronto time. So you can see me in the upcoming Sundays, hopefully as well. And I also publish, hello Rupesh, we also publish videos 3 times a week on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So you can also watch those videos. And of course, I publish a lot of articles on our website, settler.ca, which I typed this in the settler.ca as well. Okay, so let's talk about the news first. So last week, the government of Canada decided to run another draw for express entry. They only invited Canadian experience class. They invited 5,000 people. The CRS score dropped to 432, which is amazing. I had actually clients that they were invited to apply. They didn't apply. They didn't invite federal skilled trades class or federal skilled worker class. Unfortunately, that's partly because of the fact that those two groups, they are located mostly outside Canada, but the people under Canadian experience class, they are located inside Canada, and that's why they invited those people. So right now, that's the way it goes. In terms of spousal sponsorship applications, they are actually processing the applications. I just had a passport request for one of my clients last night, and my client we submitted their application in mid-February 2020. So roughly speaking, they waited around 13 and a half months to be processed. So we see that we are slightly more than 12 months that the government promised, but again, 13 months or 14 months or even 15 or 16 months is okay. Not everybody is as lucky. I have many spousal applications that are waiting in line to be processed. So it's not always that quick, but at least we have we see some progress in terms of the spousal application. So because there are lots of questions sitting here and not much of a news, first I try to answer these questions, then I will come back and either we talk about the news or we go ahead and talk about different immigration options to Canada. Okay, so Patience Nick, hello sir, good morning, so happy to see you again. Same here, Patience, thank you very much. Mel Nina says, my dependent child has a study visa or LOI valid till March 22nd under my NSNP entrepreneur program, but we all could not travel due to COVID-19. My child is now in 12th grade, ready for college. In the meantime, he has an offer from a DLI approved university in Canada for a 4-year co-op program. Will he need to reapply for a study permit to join the fall admission schedule? Okay, so we hope to travel before September 2020. So Melina, first of all, I cannot offer immigration advice here because I don't know all the specifics of your case. And to be honest with you, my livelihood is based on offering immigration advice. So if you are serious about knowing your situation, please get in touch with us privately and we will review the case and we'll tell you what would be the best answer. But I give you a generic answer, okay? So keep in mind, this is not specific to you or your child, but the generic answer is that normally when you receive a study permit for high school or secondary school, you cannot use that study permit for a college or university. So this means that generally speaking, again, I emphasize not specific to your case, generally speaking, when a person holds a study permit for high school or secondary school, if they wish to continue their studies at the higher level, they need to reapply for a study permit. Okay, so this is generic answer. If you want the specifics to your case, please get in touch with us privately. The link is below this video and you can easily find us. So get in touch with us. So myself and wife's ECA is done with both of us getting 6.5 overall in IELTS. We are MBA grade. Which provinces should we try? So Rupesh asked this question. Again, we are talking about a specific case. I don't really cannot offer you advice based on 1, 2, 3 lines of explanation. Think about that. But generally speaking, when you either you are applying a pure PNP application or you are applying for express entry and you're hoping that a province picks you. So if you're applying purely for PNP application, you need to look into the requirements of that province. And I can tell you that majority of those provinces, if you're outside Canada, they allow you to apply under PNP programs only if you are you have a work permit over there or a study permit or a job offer. It is very rare for a province to select somebody just because, because of their education, etc. Unfortunately, that's not the case. And the reason for that is that provinces of Canada, they prefer to invite people to their province that they really want to settle in their province. They don't like the idea that people get their permanent residency through the province and they never show up at the province, or they stay there for a few weeks and then they leave for Ontario or British Columbia or another place. So that's a generic answer to your question. In terms of express entry, the same policy is there. I mean, the same policy is that when you apply under express entry and you select a province, specific province, it doesn't mean that that province will select you. However, the province looks into their own policies in terms of selection. So you need to look at the province's policies for selection. For example, British Columbia is heavily on tech draw right now, and this means that you are applying under specific NOC codes, and then you have to apply directly to BC online, and then hope that they will invite you. In terms of Ontario, we have now both tech draw and francophone programs. Especially Ontario is heavily working on inviting francophones. So look into a specific province, each province, and see how they match your credentials and your work experience, and then select that province or get in touch with them directly and ask your questions. Yeah, so that's a very generic answer, I know, but the reality of provincial programs is more complicated than that. Okay, so the next one is by Zaidi Abdul Udud. So Zaidi Abdul Udud says, hello, Mr. Al. And by the way, you were here before. Thank you very much. So hello, Mr. Al. Happy Sunday. I claimed refugee in Quebec. And because I know already that my chances are meager. To be granted the status, I would like to know if I can apply to any other immigration program. And if yes, I would like to do it with you and your team. So generally speaking, again, I don't know the specifics of your case, but generally speaking, when you apply for refugee, then there is almost no province that I can recall that they will allow you to apply under their provincial programs. So if you go on any provincial program, they say, if you are a refugee claimant in Canada, then unfortunately you cannot apply under our programs. I do not remember any province that has an exemption to this rule. In terms of federal programs, yes, you may apply. I mean, if you get, for example, married to Canadian, that Canadian can sponsor you to Canada, assuming that immigration authorities do not consider this, that the primary reason for marriage is immigration to Canada. Or if you qualify for express entry, you may apply. What you can do is two things. Number one, try to get assistance from somebody. Maybe they can save your refugee case, because based on what you have mentioned, that your chances are meager. It means that you haven't been attended a hearing yet. So this is too early to consider that this is a lost cause. I would say get in touch with a professional team. You can get in touch with us. You can get in touch with somebody else and ask for help with your refugee case. There are some solutions along with that refugee case to keep you in Canada. If there are no options on your refugee case, then they will look into potential immigration options for you, if there are any, and then they will advise you what to do. If you get in touch with us, that's the case. We will review your case. You can book a consultation session with me. I will review your case, and I will decide whether it's better to fight for your refugee case, or if there are any alternatives, or a combination of both. Or in some cases, we might say, no, unfortunately, there's nothing. So the next one is by Armando Garcia. Hi, Armando. So me and my wife applied for a spousal sponsorship in July 2020. I already did the biometrics and medical in March. How long after this is gonna take to get the PR? And also we did apply for OWP. Okay, so Armando, I can answer just generically, not specific to your case. But from what I'm hearing, because you have applied for open work permit, it means that you are in Canada. The processing in Canada is going relatively okay. So usually the processing times nowadays is roughly around 15 months to 18 months. So if you submitted your application on June 2020, then you should receive some, hopefully some good answers anywhere between September to the end of the year this year. So this is a very generic situation, because in reality, depending on the complexities of your case, it may take longer, or sometimes your case is not complex at all, so it takes shorter. And of course, in terms of OWP, unfortunately, the processing time for those work permits are very slow. Now, generally speaking, the recommendation by immigration authorities is to apply in paper when you're submitting your application for sponsorship. So you apply at the same time, and then they will process the application. But generally speaking, it usually takes about 3 to 6 months for them to approve the open work permit. Because of the coronavirus situation, We have many of those applications stuck in the system and they are not processing them. We know that CPC Mississauga is heavily hit by the limitations of coronavirus. They're located in Ontario, and the measures are in such a way that majority of officers, they do not go to the office. And that has put some delays, significant delays in processing those open work permit applications. If someone is in a hurry, they may apply online if they already have their file numbers and they have done their biometrics, those kind of things. I know that this is an extra, payment of a processing fee, but if you receive your online work permit, then you may, shut down the other work permit, etc. So depending on your situation. So thank you, Al. I will contact personally. Can you let me know whether the study permit ties when it is to college and when it's a school? So Mina, generally speaking, there is no difference between this. So we don't have a study permit type. It's just that if you look at the study permit document, it shows the limitations on the study permit. So if it says that you can study only at high school or secondary level, it means you cannot study at higher level. And generally, this is general practice by the immigration authorities, as I mentioned, that when they issue a study permit for secondary school or high school, unfortunately, they do not extend it to undergrad studies at college or university. You need to separately apply for college and university because of the limitations imposed on the study permit, not because the type of study permit is different. And the situation for higher education is different. So somebody who is studying at post-secondary level, if their study permit, assuming their study permit is valid and they have followed the requirements of the study permit, for example, they were full-time engaged with their studies, if they want to switch their school, if they want to switch their level of studies, in those situations, they don't really need a new study permit. They can apply, they can just switch their schools, and there is an online option that you can just update the immigration authorities that, by the way, I'm not studying at this school, I'm studying at that school, or I'm not studying at master's level, now I'm studying at a college level. It's as simple as that. Unless their study permit is expiring, they need to apply for a new study permit. But moving from high school to university or college, normally it is based on a new study permit. That's what normally happens. But again, if I look at the documents and the application type, etc., I can probably come up with better answers. So Rupesh says, thank you, Mr. Parsai, for your information. You are more than welcome, Rupesh. So Gabbar Singh says, hello, Mr. Parsai. Why is it Jabbar Singh or is it Gabbar? So is it soft G or is it hard G? Let me see. Oh, it's Gabbar. Okay, it's G. Okay. So hello, Mr. Parsai. While applying for a study permit, yeah, got it. Okay, Gabbar says, hello, Mr. Parsai. While applying for a study permit under SDS through online application, how to submit form IMM 5654. And the next question is, should I fill it, print it, sign it, and upload a scanned copy, or simply fill it electronically and upload it without signing? So basically, we apply with a different system than you do apply, because our applications are through the portal that we submit the applications. So unfortunately, I don't know the answer to somebody who is submitting the application themselves. We have our own ways, and it's slightly different because the guidelines that we have in terms of the way that we submit the applications are different from individuals that they use my GCIC. So unfortunately, I don't know the answer to your question if you're applying yourself. If you have hired somebody to do it, they should know how to do it. So the next question by Rupesh is, Mr. Parsai, can I know more on entrepreneur's visa? So generally speaking, there is no entrepreneur's visa. However, there are some options for entrepreneurs. So we have some provincial options for entrepreneurs. Most of the provinces in Canada, they have programs that if you qualify for those programs, then you could receive a letter from the province that they support your application for a work permit. Then you apply for a work permit to the immigration authorities, you receive a work permit, and you come to Canada, and then you work with the work permit that you have received. If you're looking at the the federal option, currently the only federal option that we have for entrepreneurs is something called IMPC 11, which is International Mobility Program Code C11. And it basically, if somebody is an entrepreneur, they may receive a work permit to Canada. To qualify for that, you need to have generally speaking, there are three major criteria. So criteria number one is that you have an idea, a plan that it makes sense. It can create jobs for Canadians. It can contribute to our social or cultural fabric, and so on. And it's a viable business plan. So that's number one. So they look at your business plan and see if it makes sense. The second one is that you are a great person in terms of making that business plan happen in Canada. And by you're a great person, they look at a combination of different things: your educational background, your work experience. Do you have experience as a, for example, business owner or as a senior manager, etc.? Your net worth, how much money do you have, how much do you intend to invest in Canada, etc. So they look at the credentials of that person to see if this person is the right person to run that business idea. And the third one, they want to see that you have taken some serious steps to make this business happen. For example, you registered a business in Canada, you own at least 50% of that business, you have tried to open a bank account for your business in Canada, you have transferred some funds in Canada, you have, for example, tried to hire people in Canada, you have signed memorandums of understanding with people, you have a detailed business plan, and you have enough liquid assets to support the plan that you have. So if you're going to invest, say, $200,000, you truly can invest $200,000 in Canada. So that's a very generic thing. I mean, usually when we submit applications for entrepreneurs, just our business plans are anywhere between 60 to 100 pages. And then, of course, there are so many other things that we do to convince the immigration officer that this is a true entrepreneur who can contribute to our economy. If you manage to receive that work permit under entrepreneur program or self-employed program, both of them, then you come to Canada, you start working in Canada. We usually apply for a 3-year work permit, but depending on the officer, they could, of course, if they approve the application, and sometimes they refuse the application, but if they approve the application, they could issue a work permit anywhere between 1 year to 3 years. And then the person comes to Canada. If you start working in Canada as an entrepreneur, then depending on your situation, if your activities are in cultural and athletics areas, then you could potentially qualify for federal self-employed class and apply under those programs. Or not, then you could potentially apply under a federal express entry system. However, you need to take an IELTS test or CELPIP, and you need to be CLB7. So if you're taking CELPIP, it means that under none of the skills and language skills, you should receive less than 7. If you are taking IELTS, then not less than 6 under any skills. If you know French, you could take TCF Canada or TEF Canada, and then still you need to be NCLC 7 or higher. So that's a very broad definition of entrepreneur program. Under the federal class, I have a combination of different articles. I have an article that generically explained this. I have an article that talks about business registration in Canada for these programs. I have articles about minimum investment requirements, etc. And my firm, we have represented well over 250 of these people under this program from all over the world. I've had clients from Mexico, from Chile, from Colombia, from the United States, from United Kingdom, from France, from India, from China, where else? From Romania, from Iran. Oh my gosh, I've forgotten how many different countries. But under this specific program, I've had clients from well over 10 different countries, for sure. And at least 250 clients under this, so way more than that. And we've had many cases that they were successful. We had some cases that they were not successful. Oh, from Bangladesh, I've had clients from Pakistan, you name it. Okay, so if this is a relatively complicated program, it was we started representing clients under this program about 4 years ago, less than 4 years ago, three and a few months ago, and 3 years ago and a few months. I think the first client that I had was in October or November 2017. But I think we gained enough knowledge to represent those clients. If there was a concurrent program in place called owner-operator program, unfortunately, ESDC does not accept owner-operator LMI application on regular system that they had, the policy that they had since April 1st, 2021. So technically speaking, owner-operator program is gone, and you cannot apply under that program anymore. Okay, the next one is, thanks Al. Lastly, having a valid job offer with letter of invitation, does my travel be considered under essential travel? So just basically, if somebody has again, generic information, if somebody has a work permit to Canada, then a work permit holder is now considered essential traveler. So it means that their travel to Canada is non-discretionary and they can travel to Canada. So that's a generic idea behind work permits. But if you hold a work permit, a valid work permit, just not with LOI, no, but if you have an actual work permit, then you should be able to travel to Canada. Having said that, these rules constantly change and they are so confusing, and depending on this case. I mean, honestly, at that last moment, something happens. Right now, I have a family of 4 that they have received their work permits. The parents have received their work permits. They are traveling in June, and they asked me, okay, what should we do about our arrangements, about quarantine, etc. I told them, look, let's wait at least until the first week of May, because I don't know. I mean, everything is changing so quickly that maybe in June we will have other rules in place that they don't exist right now. So you have to be very careful with that. Communicate with the airline, communicate with CBSA to make sure whether you can travel to Canada or not. So the next question is by Sean Lee. Hi, Parsai. For the provincial nominee program, does IRCC start processing the application before assigning file number, or their work actually starts upon signing the file number? Thanks. So generally speaking, Sean, they only process the application, to be honest with you, in most cases, way after issuing the file number. So when they issue the file number, it's the time that they issue the AOR letter or the acknowledgement of receipt. So basically, they just send you a letter and they say, we have received your application on such and such date. Of course, they issue that file number when an officer has quickly reviewed the application. But that officer's role is not to approve the application or process the application, if you will. What that officer does is just to compare the application with the document checklist to make sure this is a complete package. Okay, so that's all they do. If they find out that the package is not complete, then they will either return it to you or they will ask for extra documents to complete the package. Okay, so that's what they do. But they do not actually process the application. If they find the application package is complete, they issue the AOR letter, they will issue a file number, and then this wait. Now, sometimes they will actually send it to the office that is responsible to reviewing that application. That office could be an office outside Canada or inside Canada. For most PNP applications, they will be sent to the visa office responsible for your country. So, for example, if you are from Germany, they will send the package to the office in Vienna, which is in Austria, and the office responsible for Germany. Now, what will happen is that usually IRCC sends the packages in batches to the offices. So they don't send them one by mail. They put them in these large bins, and then they will, usually this is what happens, they will send them to different offices. So that means that from the time that they issue your file number to the time that they actually send the package to a visa office, it could take a few days, and in some cases a few months before they even send it to the visa office. Now, when the visa office receives the application, now they gradually open those bins, they take out the packages, they sort them, they scan them, whatever they need to do, they will do with them, and they will assign it to an officer, and then the officer put it in line to review. And from the day they receive it to the day that the officer actually starts processing the application, it could take months before they do it. So if you go on IRCC website or on the ECAS system, you will see that they say that we are processing the application. But the reality behind it is that nobody is processing your application. You have received the file number, and it's either on its way to the visa office or it's sitting somewhere on a shelf of a visa office to be processed. Because when the officer starts reviewing the application and actually processing the application, unless there are complexities with the application, the processing will be done in a matter of hours. So there are times that the officer could decide on an application in less than 2-3 hours. They just look at the application, they see everything is in place, they make a decision on the application, and they send it for background check, which will be with the help of RCMP and with the help of CBSA and with the help of CSIS to make sure that the person is not inadmissible to Canada. But in terms of the merits of the application, it's usually being done in a matter of hours, not in a, there are some exceptional situations that there are lots of back and forth. And in fact, the processing could take several weeks or several months. But in probably 70%, 80% of the applications, the officer won't even spend a full day on reviewing the applications, especially with PNP applications, because they are already been advised by the province that this person meets the requirements. The role of the officer for PNP applications is just to make sure that this is not a frivolous application. The applicant really meets the requirements of that Section 12 sub 2 of the Act, which says that this person can economically establish themselves in Canada. If they have any doubts about Section 12.2, then they will consult with the provincial authorities, with the officer that review the application at the provincial level, and then they decide whether to reconsider permanent residency or not, which will be trouble. You will receive a PFL, procedure of fairness letter, and you need to go through that. But generally speaking, for most of the applications, that's not the case, and they will be processed in a matter of hours. So I hope I answered your question. And believe it or not, what I said in the past 10 minutes is the outcome of bits and pieces that I received from the immigration authorities over the past 10 years. Because they do not clearly explain this to you, but we have done lots of ATIP requests, Access to Information and Privacy Act requests, some phone calls, some emails, and some personal experience based on my hundreds of applications that we submitted, and this is the outcome. Okay, so this is what I have learned from those pieces and bits and pieces. So I hope I answered your question, Sean. So Mohammed Sohail, work permit expired in 2020. Can I renew it now? Again, I cannot answer specific of to you, but if somebody is currently inside Canada and they lost their status after January 31st, 2020, then they may apply for restoration of status. Okay, and that restoration, if they apply for restoration of a status currently, and this is a very special moment because generally speaking, you only have 90 days to apply for restoration of status. So they can apply for restoration of status right now based on a public policy due to coronavirus situation. When you apply for restoration of status, you can concurrently also apply for a work permit and inform the authorities that you already have applied for restoration of status. But assuming that you meet the requirements of a work permit, for example, for students, they had a PGWP that is expired and they want to apply for another one, or if they are a spouse of a worker or a student in Canada, they want to apply for an OWP, or they qualify for bridging open work permit, or they have a job offer with a valid LMIA, they want to apply. It depends on the case. Honestly, the circumstances surrounding work permit inside Canada, they are so many, I cannot even start listing all of them here. But generally speaking, yes, if the person has had a valid status they lost their status on or after January 31st, 2020, then in theory, they can apply for restoration of status, and subsequent to that, they could qualify to apply for a work permit. When I say subsequent, it could be in a matter of 1 hour after submitting restoration. That's why in the beginning I said concurrently. So the next one is Lexman Thapa. My extended family member sponsorship visa has refused. What time after can I reapply, and what is the impact of refusal? So again, I cannot talk about your specific case, but generally speaking, it depends on the nature of the refusal. So if we apply for a TRV and the refusal is simply under Section 179, you can literally apply the day after. So there is no limitations, generally speaking. I mean, if the officer says, I'm not satisfied that you will leave Canada, and they refuse the application under Section 179B, or if they say that you do not have enough financials to support yourself in Canada and refusing the application, those kind of things. In those situations, you can literally apply again. However, if somebody is applying again, they need to address the concerns of the officer. And if you don't know the concerns of the officer, how can you apply again? Because in the refusal letter, they don't mention anything. I mean, I know that they list a few things and I say, oh, based on your family ties in Canada or your home country, or based on the employment prospects in your home country, or based on your financial status or purpose of visit, etc. So they mention those things, but they don't give you the details. To know the details, you need to request the officer's notes. And so if you're interested, we actually do offer a service for $100 US. We can actually request the officer's notes, and we will explain to you what those notes exactly mean. And then when you know what the officer meant by refusing the application, then you can reapply. So if you want to wisely reapply, it is in your best interest that you request the officer's notes first, read the officer's notes, understand what were their concerns, and if you're applying again, answer those concerns. Of course, from the time that we submit an ATIP request to the time that we actually receive the report, it's usually between 4 to 8 weeks. I've had cases that it took them months to issue the report. I have cases that they answered me in less than 4 weeks, but majority of the cases, they are being processed between 4 to 8 weeks. We receive the notes, we read them, we decipher them, we will tell them what do they mean, and then based on that, if you want to submit another application, you can apply, and then with your new application, you can say to the new officer that, look, the previous officer had these concerns, but I have addressed them with these documents. Then that would be a better way to reapply. It doesn't mean that they will approve your case, but at least you have addressed the concerns of the previous officer, and if they refuse you again, then you potentially can file for judicial review through the federal court, etc. If the refusal of a TRV application or study permit or work permit is because of inadmissibility issues, then that's trouble. If they say that we are refusing the application because you misrepresented or because you are inadmissible on criminality grounds or security grounds, then you definitely need to hire a professional. They look into the situation and see why you were being refused, and then they come up with potential solutions, because the solutions vary. Sometimes we apply for a TRP, sometimes we apply for permanent residency under HNC. Sometimes we apply for rehabilitation. Sometimes we apply for record suspension. It completely depends on the case that they refuse the application. So if the refusal is because of misrepresentation or any other grounds of inadmissibility, that's a completely different story. You definitely cannot continue without the help of a professional. I have dealt with lots of inadmissibility cases in the span of my work with rehabilitation applications, TRP applications, HNC applications, you name it, I've done it. If you're interested, you can get in touch with our team and we can help you. But if it's just a simple 179 refusal, then apply for officer's notes. We can do it for you for $100 US dollar, and just contact us privately. I will send you, or one of my employees will send you the link to the payment on our website, and you can make the payment, and we will move forward with that. So that's again very quick answer to your question. So where were we? Permit expired. Oh, okay, I answered Lexman. Okay, Rupesh. Rupesh says, many thanks, Mr. Parsai. I actually a good plan and idea on sustainability about plastic wastage, and would like to present my plan to you. Of course, get in touch with us, Rupesh. If you look into our website, we have a form for business people, and I can actually share the form with you. Just give me a second. Okay. Okay, so this link that I'm sharing with you is the link for business people. You can fill out that link. This is the best way to get in touch with us. And we will review that form, and based on that, we will connect you with the right person in our team to talk to you. If it becomes necessary, they will connect you with our business development manager. He is an expert in the field of starting businesses in Canada. He holds MBA, and he has dealt with lots of our projects in the past. And then we will find out whether this is the viable thing, just based on the idea that you gave. Of course, as soon as something is related to environmental issues, you need to be ready with lots of hurdles in Canada, because they want to make sure that there is no negative impact on our environment. And if this is something that has a positive impact on the environment, then that would be a great opportunity to invest in Canada, because they really love it. But we need to look into that to see which direction it potentially goes, and then we see if it's a viable business plan. Please fill out that form, and somebody from our team will get in touch with you. Okay, and then the initial assessment is free. So as long as you don't want to book an appointment with me, it will be free. The next one, Mail Nina. Thanks, Al, appreciate it. We'll contact your firm personally. Thank you very much. Negar Mozaffari. Salam Khanim Mozaffari. Thank you very much for contacting. She's potentially from Iran. That's why I said it in Farsi. Following the other question, so investor PNP goes to Ankara for Iranians. That's correct. Yes. The PNP, every single PNP application that I have submitted so far, it has gone to the visa office in Ankara. I cannot recall any cases for Iranians that have ended up in other offices. because they eventually will send them, unless they are already inside Canada. Then there is a chance that they forward it to Edmonton or New York or to Ottawa. But those cases are very rare. Most of the time they send it to Ankara because Ankara has the understanding of the local situation. So Charlie says, thanks for the detailed explanation. Do you know how long the security check could take in general? So Sean, it depends on the situation. Sometimes for most of people, the security check takes less than a month. So I would say probably for 80% of the population, it takes less than a month. But sometimes, or less than 6 weeks, let's put it that way. But sometimes it is elongated. I've had cases that it took them up to 22 months to do the security check on my client. But that was a complicated case. And sometimes when it becomes very serious, they actually CSIS invites the person for an interview. So an officer from Canada's spy agency interviews the person to make sure that that person is not a security threat to the population. But generally speaking, these are very exceptional cases. I have dealt with some of those exceptional cases in my career, but a majority of those cases, the security screening for most people, it takes only 4 weeks to 6 weeks, or even sometimes less. I've had cases that it took them less than 2 weeks to issue the passport request as soon as they submit the medical examination. So it depends on the case, but generally speaking, expect at least 1 to 2 months or 1.5 months. Sometimes it could go beyond that. Unfortunately, if it goes beyond that, there's not much you can do. I had a case that that person eventually ended up sending a message directly to the minister himself and asked him for help. And that's when they issued the permanent residency for that person. So there are sometimes it becomes nasty, but don't worry, I would say more than 80% of you, way more than 80%, they won't encounter problems, sorry. Okay, so the next question is from, and if I'm incorrectly pronounce your name, please correct me. So Sumanbubu Miduri. Good morning, sir. I'm staff nurse in India, and I'm having 12 years of experience, and I did diploma in nursing. Please guide me. So based on this information, there's nothing I can tell you. We have an assessment form on our website, and the filling out the assessment form is free. We will look at the assessment form. This is the link to the assessment form. Please click on that form, fill out the form, and we will review it. If we find an opportunity for you, we will get in touch with you roughly in a week from the day that you submit the form. If we don't find an opportunity for you, we won't get in touch with you. Unfortunately, we receive so many assessment forms, anywhere between 100 sometimes to 200 or more per day. And the issue is that if we don't find an opportunity for somebody, now, first of all, if we want to tell them that we didn't find an opportunity for you, it takes a huge effort from our team to do that. We actually need to hire one full-time employee just to say to people, sorry, no, sorry, no. But that's not the main issue. The reason that we don't get in touch with people, that we don't find opportunities with them, is that based on experience, as soon as we tell them, oh, sorry, we didn't find an opportunity for you, then they will say, okay, what should I do to make those changes? And then for that, what should I do? I have published a bunch of articles. I have literally a book that you can read. Believe me, if you read this book, you know more than 95% of the population of the world, including Canadians, about the immigration system in Canada. That's why it has been identified as a bestseller book. It's very simple, only 88 tips. And those tips, each step is only 1 to 3 pages. If you read them, you understand what's going on in the immigration system in Canada. But if you wish for us to assess you, please fill out the assessment form. It's free. If we find an opportunity, we will definitely get in touch with you. If you're more serious, you can book an appointment with me for immigration advice. So I hope I answered your question. The next question is that my express entry profile with NOC code 3012 expires next week. I have a CRS score of 340 and I'm outside of Canada. Should I renew my profile? Is there still chance to get nominated by any PNP? So now this question is, by the way, is by Navaraj Poodle. So generally speaking, I mean, of course, there is nothing wrong with entering the pool of express entry again. So nobody will tell you why did you do that. If somebody wants to hire me and their score is 340 and they're from outside Canada, I will never accept their case. The reason for that is for liability issues. Why should I get people's money when I know that their chances for being selected is way less than 1%? But if you are doing it yourself, what's the harm? Enter there and hope for the best. Your chances still are less than 1%. But if that happens, then you're lucky. I have a friend that usually, as I mentioned, when somebody's score is low, we don't accept the case. So I have a friend. That friend asked me to help her with her immigration to Canada. They currently live in Canada. They have been living in Canada for several years, but for some reason, they never qualified for immigration to Canada. So their score was 335 or 38. So of course, we knew that they do not qualify. However, because they have been living in one of the provinces of Canada for several years, I told them, let's enter the pool of express entry. And then you approach the province and kind of ask them to see if they will select you, because she didn't qualify for any standard provincial programs either. So just by sheer chance, we enter her in the pool of express entry. And guess what? In February, when they ran that giant invitation, they invited 27,332 people. My friend got invited, and now we are submitting their application, and hopefully they become permanent residents of Canada. So sometimes, luck will happen. And in that case of my friend, I accepted the case because I didn't charge her a cent in the beginning. So we didn't go ahead with charging. It was more of a pro bono kind of job. In terms of you guys, if you're applying yourself, entering the pool of express entry will not harm you, as long as, of course, somebody doesn't misrepresent or anything of that nature. But the chances are very low. To be honest with you, are extremely low. Definitely less than 1%. Okay. And so the next person is by Ehigogi Alex. Ehizogi Alex. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. But in terms of our phone numbers, actually our business phone numbers, if you just say Parsai Immigration Services, you can find our phone numbers. But here's the link. It's very easy to locate us. I do not share my personal phone number. If you want to talk to me, you need to book an appointment, and I charge $200 for a consultation session. If you're interested, you can book an appointment with me. If you want to get in touch with our company, by all means, you can definitely get in touch with our company by the link that I mentioned. We have our phone numbers there. Our contact form is there, and you can get in touch with us. Okay, so the next one is by Rupesh. Many thanks. Thank you very much. Requirements. And then the next question is Suman Babu, requirements IELTS score for nurses, please. So we don't have, the government started staying away from attaching immigration to different jobs. Okay, so generally speaking, we don't have a job list per se by the federal government of Canada. We do have job lists by provinces of Canada, but we don't have job lists by the federal government of Canada. When it comes to professionals, whether you're a nurse or a doctor or a dentist or an engineer, and you're applying for immigration to Canada, the expectation under the express entry is CLB7. CLB7 in terms of IELTS means IELTS 6, but IELTS 6 under every single skill. So you cannot get, if any of your skills, for example, your reading is below 6, you cannot even apply. So that's a generic one. Now, for Canadian experience class, if you have experience in Canada and your job is a NACB job, then the requirements are less. If you qualify for FSTC, which is Federal Skilled Trades class, then the requirements are lower than CLB 7. I don't want to go into the details of them, but nurses usually, because they fall under the group of professionals, then the requirement is CLB 7 or higher, whether you take an English test or a French test. So that's a generic idea. If you want to know more, if you Google minimum English requirements for IELTS, for express entry, then you will find my article. Actually, it's usually minimum language. I'm just Googling minimum language requirements for express entry. My article is on the first page of Google, but here I share the link with you. You can actually, here we go, read this in more details. I have tables there, explain what requirements are. So Negar asked another question. Sorry, I'll repeat my question. Before nomination goes to ANCRA or for PR goes there. No, ANCRA does not deal with provincial cases if they are not approved. So province is the sole authority to decide whether they want that person or not, okay? But when it comes to PR application, then the province will issue a letter, and that letter is usually called certificate of nomination. So when you receive the certificate of nomination by the province, that's when you need to submit the application to IRCC. You prepare your package, you submit the application to CIO, Central Intake Office in Sydney, Nova Scotia. CIO looks at the application. If they believe that this is a complete application, they will send it to the visa office responsible for your country. In case of Iranians, the visa office responsible for Iranians is ANCRA. Now, in rare situations, the application may end up in other places, but I would say for 95% of Iranian applicants, they will eventually end up their applications in ANCRA. But ANCRA doesn't care about the first step. The first step, which is the nomination by the province, certificate of nomination, those approval by the province, it is being done by the province itself. And regardless of your nationality, it will be in the same office. Okay. So the next one is by Zaidi. Okay, thank you for the advice. Can an asylum seeker enter a pool of express entry? That's a good question. Honestly, I don't know the answer to that. I don't think there is a provision that prevents you from entering the pool of express entry. I cannot recall that. Honestly, I've never had a case of a refugee that wanted to enter the pool of express entry. So I don't have hands-on experience on that. And I don't think it will be prohibited for somebody who is a refugee claimant to apply under the express entry system. But maybe I'm wrong. I don't think there is any prohibitions. When it comes to provincial cases, there is prohibition by provinces. But when it comes to federal cases, I don't think there are any prohibitions. But I haven't had any express entry clients that they were also refugee claimants. Never happened to me. Okay, so the next one is by Norris. Thank you. Thank you very much for you. Negar, same to you. So Samsung TV. And we are almost done. It's only 2 minutes left. So my sister is 49 years old, no IELTS. So this is the last question I'm going to answer, but I will come back next week. So Samsung says, my sister is 49 years old, no IELTS, high school only, single, and she's the one back home in the Philippines. What is the best way to bring her here? So generally speaking, Samsung, or whatever your real name is, generally speaking, so I cannot talk about this specific case. Generally speaking, a person with that requirements, they cannot immigrate to Canada unless they get married to a Canadian. Of course, not if the primary reason is for immigration, or if there are humanitarian reasons for them to be sponsored by their brothers or sisters to Canada. My recommendation to you is to get in touch with us privately. If you book an appointment with me, I know it costs you, but I will review your case, ask more questions, and see if there are humanitarian aspects attached to that. If they are, then I will invite you. I will give you a proposal, and based on that, we can move forward. Again, thank you very much for everybody for attending this live session. As I mentioned, we will publish videos 3 times a week on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Please watch our recorded videos as well, and share them with your friends. Subscribe to our channel if you are not subscribers. Please follow us, and of course, if you want to support me, you can purchase my book, 88 Tips on Immigration to Canada. You can find out about your purchasing options by visiting 88tips.ca. My name is Al Parsai. I'm a regulated Canadian immigration consultant. I have been practicing for the past 10 years, and I also teach at Ashton College. I teach immigration diploma program at Ashton College. I also teach some advanced courses that my students are either immigration consultants or immigration lawyers. You can visit our website, settler.ca, be in touch with us. Please support us by attending these live sessions or watching our videos. See you next week. Bye now.